This type of problem is a hot object in water. If you put a hot object in water, the water will heat up and the object will cool down. So what's happening is the heat is just transferred from the object to the water. Since we're talking about heat, heat is Q, and Q is mc delta T. So our equation becomes, that we're going to work with, is mc delta T of the object equals negative mc delta T of the water. Now we have to add that negative in there because remember we use the sign positive and negative to indicate direction. And so since the heat is moving from one to the other, you just have to have a negative sign in that equation. This particular example or example problem is a little ridiculous. It's asking for the mass of the piece of iron. In a normal situation, you would just put that on a scale. But it gives us good practice with manipulating this equation. So we are looking for the mass of that object. So we'll need to rearrange this equation, and we'll divide both sides by c delta T of the object. Alright, so now all I have to do is plug and chug and I'll solve for my mass of my object. So the mass of the water can be found right here, but that is volume. But remember, it's a good thing we know the density of water is 1 gram per milliliter. 40 milliliters is 40 grams. So we're going to put 40 grams in there. The specific heat of water is that 4.184 joules per gram degrees C. And the temperature change of the water. The water ended up at 20 degrees C, but it started out at 17. So that means there was a total of 3 degree change for the water. That's divided by the specific heat of the object, 0.46 joules per gram degrees C, and the temperature change of the object. It ended up at that 20 grams, but started off at 42. Delta T is always final minus initial, so that's 20 minus 42, which is a negative 22 degrees C. Degrees C cancels, joules per gram degrees C cancel. All I'm left with are grams, and when I plug that in, I end up with 49.6 grams. Now, a lot of the times what they would end up doing is instead of solving for the mass of the object, you would solve for the specific heat of the object, and they wouldn't give you this part right here. And then once you found the specific heat, you could then identify the material.